Hi there, it's me, Kimberly Gosney from MakingHeadway.us. I am excited today because we are going to be jumping into Adobe Illustrator and making circle buttons for the sidebar of your website. So all you have to complete this quick tech tutorial is an Adobe Illustrator Creative Cloud subscription or access to Adobe Illustrator, the program. So what I love about the Creative Cloud is that Adobe has taken a program that used to cost a lot of money. I remember it being like $1,200 back in the day, and now it is super affordable because you can get it as a Creative Cloud member for less than 20 bucks a month. And that means that it has really changed the game in terms of what a DIYer is able to accomplish with their graphics, because you don't have to go out and buy a $1,200 program in order to make beautiful graphics for your website. This also saves you a ton of money down the road because you're not having to hire somebody to create every graphic that you could ever think of for your website, because you can do some of this graphic design DIY style all by yourself. So we're going to dig right in, and I'm going to go ahead and hop on over to Adobe Illustrator. So here I am inside Adobe Illustrator, and a word of warning, I have heard from PC users before that the different places that I go to find things, they're different for PC users than they are for Mac users. So I'm going to go through this in as much detail as possible so that you'll know exactly where everything is. And if you can't find something, just hit pause. You can always start me back up and I'll be here waiting for you. And if you have any trouble at all, feel free to reach out to me at support@kimberlygosney.com with any questions about this tech bit of this tutorial. So the first thing you need to know before you start jumping in to make sidebar circle buttons is what size buttons fit on your sidebar. So all you have to do is Google the theme that you're using for WordPress, or you may already know the size of your sidebar. Most of the time on my websites, the sidebar is about 300 pixels wide. So today I'm going to pretend that I am making a button for the sidebar of one of my own websites, and I'm going to size it at 300 pixels wide by 300 pixels tall. But now if yours is bigger or smaller, you can adjust accordingly. So let's go ahead and make ourselves a brand spanking new canvas to put this circle button on. All we're going to do is come over here to File and click New. That's going to bring up our window for our new document. We want to make this 300 pixels wide, so I'm just going to type in 300 and it's going to be set to pixels right here. And then I'm going to do the same thing across the bottom, 300 pixels for the width and 300 for the height. And I'm just going to hit OK. Once I hit OK, it's going to bring up my clear white canvas. And this part is really important. We're going to go over some of the text settings so that hopefully your board will match mine as closely as possible. Once again, PC users and Mac users, our environment looks a little different, but we'll all get there, I promise. So the first thing you want to do is you want to click on the word window up here across the top and make sure that application frame is checked and control is checked and layers is checked. And then that way you should look a little bit similar to me right now. Another thing I like to open up is window and swatches. So we're going to head over to swatches so we can grab that bad boy too. And then you'll see I have a lot of different things that are open in addition to that, but if you start layering them on top of each other, you'll start to get a little bored right here, and that's perfect. So you can slide that around and get it out of your way, but the first step is to actually make the circle that our button is going to live inside. So for this part, my box is the width of my sidebar, and this is a square. So I am going to come right over here to this rectangle tool section. I'm going to give it a click and I'm going to choose the ellipse tool. This is going to allow us to make a circle. So if you just click anywhere on the white, you can type in the size you want your circle to be. Now we're going to do some fun things like add a little drop shadow behind this circle. So we don't want to make the circle as wide as the background is, because then our shadowing won't show up right. So what we might want to do instead is make it a little bit smaller sitting inside this box. So we're going to make it 250 pixels wide by 250 pixels tall. Now we just hit OK, and it's going to bring a circle over here and pop it on this board. And it is going to be all kinds of crazy, not in the middle at all. So you can align this. And to find your alignment, you're going to choose Window, and you're going to make sure Align has a little check mark by it. So right here is where a line is for me. All you have to do is look for where that little box popped up. And now we're just going to choose horizontal align center, and we're going to choose vertical align center. So now that button is in the middle of our box. Our next step is going to be to remove the color from this box. So we're going to come over here to this little area. The white box is fill. We're going to click on it and we're going to remove the fill. Nothing is going to look any different because we're on a white background right now for our canvas. But rest assured, if we were to slide this over, you see how there's no white? There's just a black outline. That is what removing the fill does. It takes the color out of the middle. So I'm just going to align that back to the center. Now we're over here where this black line is. That's the stroke. That's what's making the black line around the edge of our circle. So we're going to click that stroke and we're going to click none and remove that one too. And I'm just going to slide this little crazy box that keeps popping up out of the way because it is so in my way. So our next step is going to be to add some color to the inside of this circle. So if we come back over here and click on this fill box one more time, then we're going to be able to pop a color into the middle of this box. So let me show you a little trick right here. If you are obsessed with HTML color codes, and I know I sure am, like I love HTML color codes and I memorize my favorite colors all the time. I know, it's the geek in me. I'm just going to click this fill box right here, and when you click it a couple of times on top of each other, you're going to be able to type in any 6-digit HTML color code, and then when you hit enter, boom, your box is going to be that color. So this just happens to be my favorite shade of pink. It's FF3F84, but of course you can make it any shade you want. You can click on it a couple of times. You can do F15, A29, that's my favorite shade of orange. You could click on it again and do 33CCDD and hit enter, and that's my favorite shade of blue. So there you go. That's just about my whole entire website branding color palette is always those couple of colors. But anyway, once you have a color code in that box, you're good to go because it's going to match the color palette that you're using for your website. Now let's say you get here and you don't have a clue what kind of colors you like for your website. No biggie. You're going to always have a few swatches that are open in your swatches panel. So if you go to Windows and then you just choose the word swatches, the swatch panel is going to open up for you, and it's going to be the basic colors, RGB colors or CMYK, depending on how your settings are right now in Adobe Illustrator. So you can of course pick any of those colors, and as long as your circle is selected, you will have a circle that is that color. And look at that, that's my favorite shade of green. That's the only color code I haven't memorized. So now we've got our circle, and I'm just going to come over here and click the selection tool and then click so that I can move some things out of the way because there is a whole lot going on right now. So now we have our button, our circle button. Our next step is going to be to put a little drop shadow behind it so that it looks all like it's sitting out from the background. So if we click right here and go to the word effect, and then we're going to hover until we see stylize, and we're going to choose drop shadow. I like to leave everything like it is at the default. And I believe right here for opacity or opaque, I can't say that word, I'm just terrible. I think it's opacity. Anyway, for right here, I think 75% is the default. So if yours says 75, it'll be fine, I promise. We're just going to go ahead and click OK, and then I'm going to just click off the screen, and you'll see how that drop shadow effect has been added across the bottom corner and a little bit on the sides of this circle button. Just gives it that look that it's leaping off the paper. Alright, so now we have our circle, and our last step to making a circle button is to put some text, some nice juicy words on this circle button. Because with Adobe Illustrator, you've got this wonderful text tool. It's called the Type tool. You just give it a click, and then you click anywhere inside your circle button, and just like that, you can start typing words on your button. So the other fun thing is you can pick the fonts and the size of the fonts and the colors of the fonts. So if you come up here to the top and click on Type and just hover over the word font, you can go ahead and pick a font, any font that you want to put here in your circle button. Then when you come back down, you just click anywhere on that circle button, and you can start typing out the wording that you'd like for your circle button to have on it. So now I've just typed out a few little words, and as you can see, they're super teeny, like microscopically tiny, like they're a little bitty. So what we're going to do is just left click and drag, and you can grab your selection tool from back up here in this corner, hold down your shift key, and then just drag. Like, that's what I love about Adobe Illustrator. Like, you've got these ways that you can make life easier. So now we've got bigger letters, yay, but guess what? They're not in the middle of our circle button anymore. And our text isn't in the center either. It's all to the left-hand side. So all we have to do to fix this problem is just center our text. So I'm just clicking Align Center, and that is under the Character button right here. So once you've done that, once you've aligned the text to the center, you're going to do that same thing down here with your alignment. We're going to align it horizontally to the center and vertically to the center. So now our hello there is right smack in the middle of that button. But I promised that you would learn how to change the color of this text too. So let me show you how to quickly switch this to white. Maybe you want white wording on your button, or maybe you want another color, and any color of the rainbow can be possible with Adobe Illustrator. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to click on this black fill, and we're going to type in FFF, 6 letter F's, and hit OK. Once you do that, boom, you have got white text on your circle button. So now the last step here is to save the circle button, but I always like to take a little sneak peek and see what it looks like before I save, just to make sure, especially with drop shadowing, that nothing is coming off the corners and that everything looks great so that when it goes on your website it'll look perfect. So now we're going to do File, Export, and Save for the web. Saving documents in Adobe Illustrator changed a little bit with the 2015.3 edition. So you might see File, Save as JPEG, or File, Save as PNG. PNG is the best for sidebar buttons. You can use JPEG as long as the background of your sidebar is completely solid white, because if it's not, you're going to have a big white box sitting in the middle of your gray background on your sidebar, and that just looks pretty dang icky. So what we want right here is to save this as a PNG file so it's nice and transparent and looks great on the sidebar. So next we're going to hit preview right here just to open this up in a new tab in our browser, and what we're looking for is to make sure that our drop shadowing isn't getting chopped off by the edges of our border. And we're good. Everything looks perfect. So now we can go back to Adobe Illustrator and choose Save. So we're going to save this as a button, and I'm just going to call it button, but you can call it whatever you want, and you're just going to hit enter. That's going to save the PNG copy of this button. But the other great thing about Adobe Illustrator is you can save a live master version of this button. So that way, if you need to use this button and you want to make some changes in the future, it's really easy to hop in there and switch out things. Or you can even keep on making more and more and more of the same one in different colors. And the process, you just change out the background color, and you could have like 2 or 3 or 4 different ones. So what we're going to do is we're going to choose File, Save As, and we're going to give this a name. I'm just going to call it Main Sidebar Button, but you can call it anything that makes sense for you. And now I'm just going to hit Save, and once we do that, we're just going to hit OK right here, and then it's going to go ahead and save us that big working copy that we can come back to and make changes to over time. So now you have got a sidebar button to put on your website, and I promise really soon, if I haven't already yet, by the time you watch this video, I will make another video on how to put sidebar buttons on your sidebar. So much fun! Anyway, thank you for joining me for how to create a circle button for the sidebar of your website using Adobe Illustrator. I hope you've enjoyed this quick tech tutorial. Thanks and bye!